Just pull them right off and drop them. You're good, you're good. Pull them straight back.
Run over it again.
Yeah, let me get this. Don't turn it, can't tell me.
Can you reach?
Yeah. Nina, hold it. Okay, how's it all off? Let's flip it.
Really? I only saw one of them. I left
Unorthodox, but it's Schneider.
I got your yellow.
yeah, I was going to tell you about that. There's a place police report on you now.
Are you going to play?
Life is simple.
No, but we left. Yes, that's why I thought I recognized.
This is a wood block, which is just plywood, and I've cut it with drill with a wire wheel and rasping heads, steel rasp head, and some gouges and knives. So you can see the grain of the wood showing through. And we're loading the blocks and the plates today with a lot of ink because it's so warm and windy that it's really drying out very quickly. So if we don't put a lot of color down, we don't get much of a result. We get something that's already too light, too transparent. So we're really being very, very heavy-handed with the ink. And these are basically monoprints. In other words, each one that we do is different. We're not out to make an edition that looks all the same. It'd be very hard to control things out here.
Now, this is not to say that a highly deductive, carefully plotted mystery is necessarily one where the plot is more important than the characters. I like, as a reader, I enjoy Agatha Christie's books about Jane Marple because I find the characters of interest, whereas some of her other books I find more involved with plot and less of interest to me. I've written quite a few different kinds of books, and people sometimes find that surprising. The two series of novels with which I've been most involved for the past couple of years are a series of hard-boiled novels about an ex-cop turned unofficial private detective called Matthew Scudder. And these books are tough and set on the seamy side of New York and so on, and downbeat in tone, I would say. And at the same time, I've written a rather frothy series of books about a lighthearted Manhattan burglar who, for reasons generally of self-preservation, is forced to solve a mystery in the course of a book. Self-preservation for both the writer and the character. And sometimes people are surprised that the tone of the books and even the world view of these two characters is substantially different. And I find myself more surprised by writers who always write books that are the same in tone. Because I know that my moods vary, and I have a variety of sides to myself, and so do most of the writers I know. And I'm surprised when a writer whom I know to be a fellow with infinite jest writes only books where his humor is never displayed at all.
I think the detective fiction or mystery fiction or criminal fiction, what you want to call it, today is reflecting the time.
Staying still with that anti-heroic figure. And for me, I guess the mystery novels that I've liked have all been novels of character. And thinking of this once that Marjorie Allingham once wrote, that you read a novel for the plot and you remember it for the character. And I guess that's what I attempt to do in my own writing, my own mystery writing. To make characters, to make people that I care about, or the reader can care about, and then to put them in some kind of dilemma that they work out. All mystery novels are pretty much the same, in the sense that you're retelling the same story over and over. They're all the retellings, really, of the Theseus myth. That Theseus comes down to Athens to Crete, works his way into the labyrinth, and there's the Minotaur at the end of the labyrinth. I Any mystery novel is the working through that labyrinth. You get there, you defeat this creature, and in defeating the creature, you too, or the hero too.
But what I wanted to talk about first was this title, hard-boiled detective fiction or hard-boiled novel. It's a pretty wide field called mysteries, and mysteries really doesn't hit it anymore. And they're trying to come up with a new term because there are genres within genres now. There's the police procedural novel, and of course there's the classic English mystery where 9 people meet on an island and one of them is killed one by one. Or there are the country weekends of an English mystery where one person is killed and the amateur detective suspects everybody and finds out the butler probably didn't do it either in the end. Very closed shop sort of thing. And
That's the lady with the high voice?
I'm sorry?
Are you one of the announcers in the high voice?
Mi esposa es estable. Mi suegra vive en agua, mi cuñado, mi sobrino. Yo soy de por nacimiento, por crianza, llevo 4 años hablando de
Remember to see the books.
Now, walk right by me this way. have to get his thing ready because they're in there.
Surf, S-U-R-F.
Oh, part of the art in Thanks. Thank you, Matt. That's good. Yeah.
Billy, we gotta put it in a box. You gotta help me put it in a box if you would.
Extraordinary migration south to north and the cultural influences moving north to south. My new book, which is going to be published next year, is a book about California, or rather about the memory of Mexico and California. It is a meditation on the way America remembers the past.
My education was primarily as a visual artist. I was a painter and a printmaker for years, and then for a very funny turnabout, the way life has its weird quirks, I began to write, and in 1973 my first book was published. I've written for children, young adults, and adults. The people I write about are the people that I know best. Puerto Ricans and the way they survive and thrive, home in New York, human drama in New York City.
Really need a wider audience. Ramona, perhaps you could kick off the discussion with your observations on that question.
I'm not sure that the word need.
Thank you. And I guess what's happening is that after I read, there's a question period too, so you can begin storing up questions instantly. What did I think when I was walking on stage? At any rate, it's very nice to be here. I'm going to read two stories tonight. One is rather short, and it's called Snow. It was initially published in Vanity Fair. It's the first story in this new collection. And then I thought that next I would read the title story.
Really pleased and honored to have with us the Frugal Gourmet, Jeff Smith. He is introducing his newest book, The Frugal Gourmet Cooks with Wine. So without further ado, I think everybody's pretty much heard all the wonderful things about this man through the media all week, on television, WLRN. The whole area's been talking about the Frugal Gourmet coming to Miami. Thanks so much, Jeff Smith.
I have never been in Miami. Are you ready? What is the channel that carries us here? The PBS channel. How many of you are members? Down in the front, you guys move to the back. Thank you. Remember, public television is really the thing that saves both of us. When you want your children to get an education, you do two things. One, you send them to school, and then you complain about the teachers. And then two, you put them in front of PBS. All right? Hello, Miami. Here we go.
We loved what he did so much, and all his friends and his family loved the book. And finally, it was published, and it was a big success, and himself enjoyed so much doing this book that right away he invented a new story for a second book. And for many years, he continued doing some books. But unfortunately, my father was not in good health, and he died in '37 after making 6 books with Baba. And then there was the war, and his two last books were published in pre-publication in a British newspaper, and then after that, after his death, in books. In 1945, after the war, I was at that time a young man painter also, and Babar was my friend, the friend I had all my childhood. So I wanted him to live again. And I started to make some little elephants, playing with them like that. And the idea of making a new book and go on with the stories of Babar occurred to me. That was my first book, published in 1947. Babar and Babar's cousin, that rascal Arthur. At that time, I was a young man of 20 years old. I had no children of my own, and I think I was not really conscious of what it meant to continue the work of one's own father. Maybe after a while, I understood much better what it means, so there was maybe some conflict between my own ego and my father's ego, but finally it went very well. And I tried to be excessively faithful to my father's style, of course, because if I wanted to go on with the Babar stories, it had to be the same as all the fans of Babar were used to be. Now, I have made many, many more books than my father ever did. And I am so used to it that it's exactly as if Babar was my own creation.
Where is Babar?
What did he say?
Where is Babar?
Where is Babar? I'm sorry, I have no trunk and I cannot be Babar myself. And very often people don't know at all about the Babar story being created by two different authors. And they are very surprised when they meet me to see that I have no white beard and going like that, because Babar now is very old.
Mother came up with the name Babar?
No. Actually, the name of Babar, I have no answer for that. I don't know absolutely where it comes from.
You'll agree with me that I think this puts the lie to the fact that people in Miami don't care about books. My name is Mitchell Kaplan. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I just want to welcome you. And I want to say that this discussion has been sponsored in part by the Ford Motor Company and General Federal Savings. Actually, the only reason for taking the banner down really was because we have taping of this right now, videotape. So if any of you are Ford dealers or anything like that, I don't want you to be upset. To moderate the program today, we're very fortunate to have a gentleman who lives here in Miami, who has written a wonderful, wonderful book called Up for Grabs, Journey Through This Trip. John will tell you the whole subtitle, which I don't remember, but it's a journey through the Sunshine State. John Rothschild. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. One of the ideas of Miami is that things have to start a little late, so I guess that's what happened here. This is a panel on how various writers view Miami, on the idea of Miami, the writer's perspective. And it's always nice. Writers are very glad that people wonder what they're going to say about a place. One of the facts of modern cities is that cities wait around for the reviews from writers. I think that's something that's begun to happen in the last few years. It's a little dangerous for cities, I think, but that's it. It's like having mental health clinics waiting for the evaluation from psychotics. At least sometimes I feel that way. One thing I've noticed living here and reading magazines is that lately magazines which were uniformly negative on Miami a few years ago are now quite positive. And in my opinion, they used to concentrate on what the scoundrels were doing, and now it's what the scoundrels are wearing.
Holy